Hi, my name is Dr. Steve Webb, and today we're going to talk about my presentation for RSA 2010. The title of the session is Social Insecurity, the Social Web's Impact on Enterprise Security. And basically what we're seeing is the World Wide Web is beginning to evolve into what we call the social web. And the whole idea of that is, whereas the old web used to be completely pull-based from the user standpoint, people would put out static content, users would pull it. The new web, the social web, is becoming more of a push-type technology where individuals are pushing out content and having a lot of social interaction with other users. And it's a lot more dynamic, it's a lot more fun, and users are beginning to engage with other users, and it's not the static web of the 90s and early 2000s. And so what you're seeing is lots of interaction with Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, those types of environments. But unfortunately, you're also seeing a lot of attacks that are starting to target these environments because, as we've seen in every other type of security situation, attackers go where the users are. And right now, the users are in social environments, and so they're starting to tailor their attacks to those environments. So what we're going to do is first look at the evolution, try to show you kind of some of the unique elements that have happened in these environments, what separates them from kind of the old guard of the old World Wide Web, and kind of set the stage for what the malicious entities are now working with. So then once we've set that stage, we look at the actual attacks that malicious entities are launching against the users of social environments. And we look at three specific types of attacks. The first is more traditional attacks that are now being launched in the social environments. So these are things like malware propagation, spam, phishing, things that were traditionally been fighting on the internet at large, but have now emerged in these environments. So you'll look at spam within MySpace and Facebook and Twitter, etc., and start to get an understanding of how these things are different in these social environments. The second type of attack that we'll look at is what we call socially enhanced attacks. And basically these are attacks that have leveraged the social environments to make them more potent. So you can look at socially enhanced spam, socially enhanced phishing, and the main idea is that attackers will take contextual information from these environments, such as demographic information, friendship, relationship type information, and use that information to make their attacks more potent. So one example is, I have a phishing attack, I find someone's friends, I find their interests, and I tailor the phishing message to them specifically so that it's more powerful and people are more likely to read it, and I have a higher likelihood of success as an attacker. So the third is what we call socially inspired attacks, and those are attacks that have emerged solely within the social environments. And the best example of those is malicious profiles. So like on MySpace, you can imagine getting a profile request or a friend request from a very attractive young lady in MySpace. You go, you actually visit her profile, and boom, it takes you to a malicious site. Or you have an interaction with a malicious entity on Facebook, they try to give you an application, you run it, and boom, you've been compromised. Things like that have emerged solely in these social environments, and they have elements of previous types of attacks, but they're uniquely catered towards the users of these social networking communities and social networking sites and other user-generated type content sites. And so we're going to focus on what makes those unique and what you can do to solve those. And that goes for all three of the attacks, because the third main point of the presentation will be countermeasures. Looking at things like reputation systems and toolbars that users can install to try to protect themselves from this malicious activity and to try to protect themselves from malicious profiles and malicious accounts. We'll also look at kind of more general type guidelines that individual users, be them naive or just corporate types of users, can use to be safe in these environments. Things that they can do on a daily basis to try to protect themselves. Like looking at unshorteners on URLs in Twitter to try to see the final destinations before they blindly go and visit malicious sites, or doing background checks on the people that try to reach out to them as friends. Simple things like that can protect you from these malicious entities. And finally, again, just kind of summing up all the different things you can do to protect yourself. And that's basically what the talk's going to be about. We'll look at evolution, we'll look at attacks, and we'll look at the countermeasures. And hope to see you at RSA. Appreciate it.